The day after baseball's All-Star game, traditionally, one of the quietest on the sports calendar. Today, not so much.
Not so much. A 4 a.m. flurry of activity in the newsroom. That's what we had. Let's get right to the breaking news. And for that, we bring in our NBA insider, Adrian Wojnarowski. Woj, tell us what you know about Kawhi Leonard at this hour.
David, Toronto is finalizing a deal with San Antonio to acquire Kawhi Leonard. DeMar DeRozan and more would go from Toronto to the Spurs, but both Leonard and DeRozan have been made aware that a deal is likely imminent, and the sides will try to finalize an agreement here later this morning.
Yeah, Woj, that's what I was going to go to. How close are there any hurdles in the way to getting this done?
DeRozan is the key element going back from Toronto to the Spurs. Both Chris Haynes and I, in reporting the story, were told that the deal is close and that there's an expectation that they'll get done later today. DeRozan, late last night, was made aware of the deal, and he has started to tell teammates and those close to him that he expects he's on his way to San Antonio.
Woj, Kawhi has let it be known he's not welcoming the deal. He wants to play for the Lakers. We know that. He's got a year left on his contract. What's the rationale for the Raptors making this deal?
Masai Ujiri, their president of basketball operations, this is a move that takes some courage because he has no expectation that he can re-sign Leonard. He will have a season to try and sell him on Toronto. He is trading away potentially, a second-team All-NBA player in DeMar DeRozan, who had his best year in the NBA, for, really one of the preeminent talents in all the league, who played only 9 games last season with a quad injury, and who has made it clear that he wants to be in Los Angeles, that he will sign there in free agency next summer. It's a somewhat similar situation to what Oklahoma City did with Paul George last year. They were able to sell George on Oklahoma City, never let him even get a meeting with the Lakers in free agency. But this is a sizable gamble, and what it would do if they lose him in free agency, if the deal goes through and they lose Kawhi Leonard to L.A. or somewhere else in free agency next summer, it would expedite a rebuild in Toronto. But this is the conversation that's gone on for like 10 days to 2 weeks pretty seriously between the Raptors and Spurs, and they're going to try to culminate that later this morning with an agreement in principle.
All right, later this morning, we'll continue to monitor it all day here on SportsCenter. Woj giving us the very latest as we close in on a Kawhi Leonard deal to the Raptors. Rachel Nichols provided us with the screenshots of DeRozan's Instagram story. He starts with, "Be told one thing and the outcome another. Can't trust him. Ain't no loyalty in this game. Sell you out quick for a little bit of nothing." He continues with, "Soon you'll understand." And then finally, "Don't disturb." So DeMar DeRozan making his feelings known very clearly there in that Instagram post.
News: Kawhi Leonard said to be really thinking about going to the USA Basketball National Team's minicamp in Las Vegas next week. Spurs coach Greg Popovich will be at the camp in his role as national team coach, by the way. Kawhi could show everyone he's healthy and ready to be traded. He could also make the Spurs want to keep him more. Adrian Wojnarowski and Ramona Shelburne have the full story on ESPN.com. And Brian Windhorst joining me now. Brian, what do you make of Kawhi Leonard seriously considering attending the USA Basketball minicamp next week?
Well, this is a big thing that's been discussed in the league. Just how healthy is Kawhi Leonard? Not only what can you trade for him, what are you getting? And so this is something that people have been dying for in the league. Executives who are considering making offers for him, they have no frame of reference to know how he's developed and gotten better from the injury. So the fact that he's even considering wanting to play is an indication he's feeling a lot healthier, but it hasn't fully been decided that he's going to play yet.
You said on Zach Lowe's podcast that the Raptors are in the driver's seat for Kawhi. Why the Raptors over, say, the Lakers or the Sixers?
Yeah, it's sort of a war of attrition. The Lakers, Sixers, Celtics, and some other teams have not been willing to put in their prime prospects. Guys like Markelle Fultz, guys like Brandon Ingram, Jaylen Brown. That has left the Raptors, a team that has made an offer for Kawhi Leonard, to be very interesting. They have young players. They have all-stars on their roster. And with the East opening up, they may be willing to gamble on a one-year rental for Kawhi Leonard.
See what happens. Brian Windhorst, thank you, my friend.
Shaq. Shaq and Charles Barkley have been teammates on TNT's Inside the NBA for 7 years, but now that didn't stop DJ Diesel from leading an entire nightclub chant something special about Barkley. Let's take a listen.
Barkley sucks, say it. Barkley sucks. Barkley sucks, say it.
Pablo, if you were Barkley, how would you feel about this disrespect? And are you surprised by what Shaq's life at 46 looks like?
You may have expected me to text Charles Barkley, as I have done several times on this program, but I have not.
And told us about it.
But I have not done that here because I think there's a larger game at play, and I'm thankful for the game that Shaq is playing, because the part of this video that is so fun to me is Barkley has no rings right there with the rings spinning, because we are living in this time, Bo, where players and rings culture, as LeBron is ascendant and Kobe is on the way out and all that, I feel like rings culture may actually be sort of going away a little bit. And these men are the ones who are bringing down the tablets from the mountaintop and reminding us rings matter, which is ridiculous but fun. I want to argue against rings culture, and Shaq is allowing me to do it.
Well, hold on. Rings culture is never going to go away for a caliber of athlete like Charles Barkley was, because the champion will always have a significance in society. This is an age-old idea, so you're never going to get the culture out of there. The thing about this to me is Shaq does these things. You can't do it back to Shaq. Like, this is going to happen, and Charles Barkley is going to laugh. He might make some joke about how Shaq looking to beat her, but that's about all, that's all it's going to be, right? If you do this to Shaq, Shaq is going to ravage everything about your soul in return. And that's what's got to be the frustrating part about that one is, because Shaq can be very funny when he does this, but it's only fun if everybody gets to play along.
Right. Shaq doesn't quite take the joke as well. Charles Barkley, one of his great talents.
He's the best joke taker ever.
He is. He will be made fun of, and in fact, he should be a shining example for everybody in our business to learn to laugh and therefore become richer because of it. But Shaq, man, Shaq is like, I do want Charles Barkley behind a DJ stand. Just like
I fear what music Charles Barkley would play behind that.
Those town halls had a different soundtrack. Remember those?
I forgot about that.
Magic Johnson, Bo, that's the next name. The Lakers president of basketball operations called LeBron, quote, the greatest player and, quote, the greatest leader in sports yesterday before revealing that the team will consult LeBron on personnel moves. Magic said, we're going to go to LeBron and say if there's a deal to be made for guys available. We'll say to him, what do you think about this guy? Bo, is this a smart move by Magic?
It's the move everybody in the NBA makes. Like, when the Warriors are like, we're going to bring in DeMarcus Cousins, they called everybody.
Right, Draymond's texting.
Right, they're talking to everybody.
Everyone.
Draymond Green is in contact with the owner of the Warriors more than probably any reporter or anybody else that comes close, right? Like, this is how it works. Magic Johnson had not one, but two coaches fired when he was in L.A.
True.
Yeah, he's going to talk to LeBron about what it is, because how LeBron feels about a personnel move is one of the top factors in making a move.
Absolutely. And I do think that the next level of this, though, because you're right, this is SOP for so many, at the very least, modern and or smart and or enlightened NBA franchises to listen to your
They've been doing this forever.
Yeah. But the idea of, like, actually we are going to completely empower the player and invite him to the table and not have any shame about that, I think that helps, because Magic is, of course, the former player who you described, and also because we are now living in this age of player movement where these players are, in fact, the movers and the shakers. But LeBron James will be graded, make no mistake, on his tenure as a GM when these 4 years on the Lakers are through. I think that will be a key part of this, too.
But he's not talking about making him the GM.
No, he's not.
Like, that's the big thing. Here's the thing. Well, people will put that LeBron is GM thing on him a lot, just in large part because they would have put something on LeBron. But the dude in charge is Magic. And LeBron, for what he might be to the world, he ain't Magic, right? Like, for the Lakers, he is not Magic. They're going to be the ones to figure this out, but they're going to do what everybody does. You call the star and say, hey, what is it that you think about this move? Now, do I think that LeBron's going to come from downstairs and come upstairs and tell Magic, this is the move that we gonna make. That's still Magic Johnson. You're not about to walk in there and slam the domino in there on him.
But I do think LeBron James has a certain cachet and a power given Rich Paul, his agent, given his connections where, hey, if I want a guy to play with me, it has to be because of me, LeBron James, even if Magic's
maybe. You signed a 4-year contract, and that kept that man in charge.
He is a human bag of rings.
Go to the next card. Daryl Morey. According to Mark Stein of the New York Times, the Sixers tried to hire the current Rockets GM, Daryl Morey, as their general manager, but were rebuffed. Pablo, what part of the process is this?
This is the part of the process that I believe is where you try and find a time machine and unfire Sam Hinkie. I understand why Daryl Morey was called. Daryl Morey is the executive of the year and all of that. But you know who else Daryl Morey was, Bomani Jones? Daryl Morey was Sam Hinkie's boss. Daryl Morey is Sam Hinkie's close friend. If the Sixers GM should be Daryl Morey, it might as well be Sam Hinkie. Why not? Bring back Sam. I said this as a joke however many moons ago on this program, and now I have the evidence that this guy behind me in the giant screen, Sam Hinkie, well, you'll see after we get this little video of Sam looking.
Why does anybody want to see that? Why do you want to look at him? Why do you want to do that? It looks like Paul Bearer from Wrestling Son.
You know he has a buzz cut now.
Wow, look. Here's what I realized as I heard you talking right there.
Yes.
Something my brother used to say to me when I was younger. You know what your problem is?
What is it?
You spend too much time talking to people who ain't as smart as you. Because the logic of
that is a brilliant criticism.
The logic of that just because Hinkie worked for Daryl Morey, since you wanted Morey, you should go hire Hinkie, is utterly preposterous. There's one huge difference between the two of them and their tenures. Daryl Morey did what he did in Houston without ever putting forth an embarrassing product. And every time people talk this stuff about Hinkie, well, you just had to think of the long-range vision. Morey is the picture of why what Hinkie did was so problematic. Because in Houston, you can't get away with doing what Hinkie tried to do in Philadelphia, right? We're not going for that as a city.
Daryl didn't have to do that.
Right, but Daryl is not Sam Hinkie. That does not mean to go get a lesser version of Daryl Morey just because you tried to hire Daryl Morey in the first place.
But the issue is that Daryl Morey, with Sam Hinkie as the lieutenant, Sam was a key architect of the James Harden trade.
Right, then maybe you hire him as a lieutenant. Maybe you bring him in as a lieutenant.
Why?
Because he's demonstrated if you put him in charge, your team will be a laughing stock. The difference between some of us and some of you dorks is we care about being, yes, you dorks, you're riding for the king of the dorks. How can you not be a dork?
Who display the behavior of dorks sometimes, to be clear.
What?
Sam Hinkie, though. Sam Hinkie and what he has done and what he can do, this was where he was going to go.
What the hell did he
build
do?
A winner.
What did he do?
He inherited a team that was structured around Arnett Moultrie and became the franchise that has
and what else did he, hold on.
If
you're going to talk about what he did.
We're really going to relitigate the process on this.
No, because if you're going to talk, the problem is if you're going to talk about what he did, you can mention the high points because there were highs, but talk about the other stuff, right?
There were mistakes.
Talk about what that was, and you can't bring this dude back. I don't care. No.
The problem with him having created a laughingstock that we all laugh at is that we did not have to laugh. I didn't laugh. I was applauding. I was applauding the logic. The laughingstockness is dependent upon the audience as well.
No, it's because you dorks are sociopaths, and the part that you ignored is that he had all those children there with nobody. Like, he doesn't understand people stuff, which Morey seems to get, and that is a huge difference between him and your man, Paul Bearer Jr.